Hello and welcome to 18 WJTS Inform. Today we're going to talk about the Dubois County Community Foundation, and joining us in the studio is the Executive Director for the DCCF, and that is Clayton Boyles. Clayton, welcome to the show.
Bill, thanks for having me on this morning.
Well, you do so much good work. We're going to talk about an endowment that you did, and then we're going to talk about ways that people can give that they may not be thinking of.
Yeah.
And they should be thinking of as we look forward to the future. First of all, let's talk about your new endowment that you have that supports education.
Sure. Had the pleasure of meeting Mr. and Mrs. Fred and Pat Holland recently. Few listeners, I'm sure, would recognize Fred and Pat's names. Mr. Holland was a principal at Jasper High School and also assistant superintendent for Greater Jasper Schools years ago. And Pat was a bookkeeper through the Children's Co-op for over 17 years as well. And so Mr. and Mrs. Holland decided that they wanted to set up an endowment that would benefit kids and benefit education. And what better way to do that than give back to the place that Fred taught most of his life, which was Jasper High School. And so the Fred and Pat Holland Endowment is created, and every year it will benefit Jasper High School and the academic success of each of their students.
Oh, that is fantastic. So that's kind of the end result of some of the work that somebody can do ahead of time.
That's right.
And so that's wonderful to be able to support. Yeah, because people have passions in their lives. Obviously, theirs was education.
Yeah.
And to be able to perpetuate that support.
Yeah. And they have the dollar enough to do it now. And people give during their lifetime. I mean, the majority of givers, the most popular way to give is to give a gift now. And some people are in the position to do that and others are not. But there is another way to give. And that's a gift that happens beyond your lifetime. So after you're no longer here, you can still give a gift through really what is in global terms your estate plan. There are other ways to give that are considered longer term estate gifts, but to hone in on it, I mean, an estate plan, an estate gift really comes simply down to your will. That's that document that you work with your attorney on that says, I have these assets, or I have these children, and if I die, when I die, I want my children to be cared for by these individuals. I want my assets to be able to be distributed to my children, my grandchildren, other individuals that they care about maybe. But really, when it comes to a bequest, which is the line item that goes in your will that says, I care about this charity and I want to give X amount or this percentage to charity when I am no longer here. So simply put, it's including a charity that you care about in your estate or in your will whenever you're no longer here.
And you can choose that to be whatever you want it to be, and obviously they can make that happen through the Community Foundation.
That's right. So, people can give directly to any nonprofit that they care about, but if we want to talk about perpetually, long-term, forever, the partner is the Community Foundation. That's what we're built on, is long-term, perpetual resources that nonprofits can rely on forever. And so if you would leave an asset through your estate plan, through your will, to the Community Foundation, we could set up an endowment which would generate income every year to the cause you care about. So whether you care about dogs or cats, children, maybe seniors, maybe it's a church or a mentoring program or a community development project happening, we can build an endowment that supports your passion, very broad. The other thing to think about, Bill, is that a lot of donors come in and they talk about things very broadly. They may have 5 to 10 passions and they just can't pick. Or they love Dubois County in general. They could give an unrestricted gift to the Community Foundation, and we would put those fundings that they would give into the Fund for Dubois County. And the Fund for Dubois County is a collective group of individual endowments and endowments started by businesses that we pool together, that we use for grant making in the community that nonprofits apply for. So it's a competitive grant cycle that we have that's open year-round, and we support all the things I just mentioned, dogs and cats to children to seniors to churches to other organizations. but it gives the Community Foundation and future generations of Community Foundation leaders and our community flexible dollars to be able to spend on needs at that time. I mean, no one knew in this room, you and I, or in our community, that we would be funding COVID with unrestricted grant dollars in 2020. No one knew that. No one could have known that. But there's going to be many COVID-related events, or COVID-like events, I should say, in our future that we have no clue that are coming, that may be a positive in our community that we want to fund, maybe a negative in our community that we have to help rectify. But the point is, by being able to give to an unrestricted fund at the foundation, we are being able to generate grant dollars that are going to be flexible in how we address and preserve our community long term.
And really, as they say, you can't take it with you, but this is one way that you can make sure that your legacy, or maybe you don't care about your legacy, maybe you just want to, you've got money and you want to make sure that others benefit from what you did.
Right. That's a great point, Bill. There are donors who have a named fund and maybe their husband and wife's name. It could be in memory of someone who has passed away. Others choose that they want to be more anonymous in their giving. And so we have the ability to do both. We can do a mixture of. The point is that there is no reason from an anonymity or confidentiality standpoint you need to be worried about, I don't want my name out there, or I do want my name out there. We have the ability to do both because we have many donors who have asked for both.
And really the key is you're very flexible. And
yes.
You work with whatever that donor is wanting to make sure that what that donor wants is what happens.
That's right.
Not what the Community Foundation wants or what somebody else wants. It's what that donor decides. That's what you take care of.
Pretty broad in that, Bill. I mean, we don't sit there day to day and say it must look like this. There are some structural things that we keep in place that are good for long-term sustainability practices of the foundation, but yeah, we want to meet our donors' passion. That's what we're here for. So sitting down and having a conversation, thinking about what matters to you, that's what I want to hear. I just want to start telling me your story, and we can start developing a plan.
Now, this may be a time that people are starting to think about their IRAs. And they may have money coming. Well, if you get money coming, that's considered income.
Yeah.
You can also use a IRA rollover as a donation to the Community Foundation.
Yeah, so for individuals who are 70 and a half years of age or older, if they have a traditional IRA, which I'm sure a lot of their tax and professional advisors would talk about this as well, and certainly you need to talk to your professional advisor. I am not a tax advisor or a professional advisor of finance for sure, but enough to be dangerous. But the point being is that if you have a traditional IRA and you are over 70 and a half, you are required to take a minimum required distribution, a minimum distribution from your IRA. And if you don't need that income, maybe you have other sources of revenue that keep you at a comfortable cash flow level for the year that you're in, and you don't need that extra income, you can avoid an income tax by bypassing receiving that minimum required distribution and bypassing it to charity. And so the charity, being whatever organization you care about or the Community Foundation, would receive that required minimum distribution from your IRA directly, and you would avoid an income tax liability for that year. And
again, can that be specific to where you'd like that money to go? Like, I'd like it to go to the Boy Scouts or
yes, it can.
Like that?
Yep. View it. There's only small restrictions that are not worth enough to talk about because it just is, circumstantial. But absolutely, there is flexibility. It's almost like just writing a check, figuring out where you want this to go. So a great option for those that don't need more income than what they have right now, but are forced to take a required minimum distribution and would like to see some tax savings and not have an investment or an income tax.
And really, just like the bequest or other things, talk to your tax advisor and your CPA, and they're in contact with you because you're in contact with them, but they most definitely also need to talk to you, so you kind of have an idea of where you stand, and you can maybe talk to them. And you want to find out more about that donor if they're willing to tell you more, because you care about their passions. Right. It's not my passion, and it's collectively not even our board of directors, who are 15 members, their passions. It's individually the donor's passion.
We have over 450 endowments that have been set up, and we have thousands of donors who give, and we have more than 40,000 people that live in Dubois County. I want to know about what your passion is. Our board is passionate about building sustainability and building long-term perpetual sources of revenue for nonprofits and be able to grant out and make a big difference in our community. And so our passion is what you have for the day to talk about. I talk to individuals about education and helping small children in the morning, and I talk about a church in the afternoon. It can be totally different the next day. It's all about what a donor cares about, and what I want to know is your story. What makes you tick, what makes you happy, what makes you sad, and what you have a passion for, and maybe what you can do about it, what we can do together. And so it's really a three-way partnership, bringing in that professional advisor. It takes the donor or the client, and it takes the community foundation, and it takes the professional advisor to talk through it. So we do meetings like that quite a bit, and it's a really productive meeting, because I believe that the donor feels really good that they have their finances and their estates and affairs in order, and they're still being able to give back to the community in ways that they have a passion.
And it really needs to start with a phone call to the Dubois County Community Foundation, or a contact through email, or just to stop in the office.
Yeah, stop in. We are open, mask required at the moment, but it's 812-482-5295 to reach out to the Community Foundation via phone. Certainly you can connect with me in different methods, but walking in, we would love that. It's a great opportunity, and like I've said it many times before, let's sit down for a cup of coffee or go for lunch and just get to know you. And I'm not a hard-nosed salesman. I care about relationship building, and I want to know what you're passionate about. And so we'll go at the pace that you wish, and we'll make a plan together.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Clayton, for coming in.
Appreciate it.
The Dubois County Community Foundation, as you may or may not know, does great work throughout the communities. Hopefully we do these shows to let you know more about what the Dubois County Community Foundation does, or how you can help. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Bill. Appreciate the time.
Thank you for watching 18 WJTS. We are local people watching local people.